Twice each year, in Canada's frigid north, millions of caribou embark on an epic journey. The largest mass migration of any mammal walking the earth. On the California coastline, massive elephant seals meet to breed and battle after months at sea. Monarch butterflies flutter thousands of kilometers in a multi-generational marathon. These creatures survive incredible migrations, overcoming deadly obstacles, crossing oceans and continents to ensure the future of the species. Inside the different realms of the wild kingdom, members of a single species assemble in droves. One flock, herd, or troop reigns supreme. These are the world's great animal empires. Nunavik, the most northern reaches of the Canadian province of Quebec. This is the tundra, a wild, empty expanse of land. But it won't be empty for long. It's late August, a restless time here. This caribou is heading south. Sometimes called reindeer in other parts of the world, caribou got their name from a Mi'kmaq First Nations word meaning one who paws at the ground. They scrape the ground with their hooves to dig up lichens that comprise the bulk of the caribou's diet. He stands 1.5 meters tall at the shoulder, the third largest member of the deer family. He spent the past 5 months in the farthest northern reaches of his range. But as the days grow shorter, it's time to move on to sparse forests called taiga, 1,000 kilometers south, where he will spend the winter. And he's not alone. This is the Leaf River herd. It's an animal empire on the move. The largest caribou herd in North America, estimated at 330,000 animals. The herd marches in long strands, stretching for kilometers on wide expanses of open land, coming together at narrow passes and obstacles. And the Leaf River herd is only one of many. Millions of caribou migrating to cross the tundra each spring and autumn. The greatest land migration on Earth. Caribou are an important cultural and dietary keystone to the people of the North. One Inuit story says the first woman on Earth dug a hole in the ice to fish. From the hole, she pulled every animal in the world. The last to come was the caribou. She ordered the caribou to multiply. Soon, they covered the land, enough caribou to feed all of mankind. Unlike other deer, both male and female caribou can grow antlers. But only some does grow them, and they're proportionately small compared to most deer. The males are much larger for jousting with other bucks. Only the moose can boast a more impressive rack. 3 months ago in spring, the Leaf River herd moved north. The females led the migration, searching for the perfect place to have their babies far away from forest predators like wolves. Now, as winter closes in, food in the north is becoming scarce. They've got to move. They'll be bringing a new generation with them. There's not much time to grow up. At just 2 weeks old, these fawns must struggle through their first southern migration. With Junior in tow, the return will be far more dangerous and slow going. The tree line is hundreds of kilometers away. The survival of the empire depends on the female's ability to get their young back to the forest alive before winter. Each day presents mortal danger. Death could come in the form of a broken leg or a prowling bear. Or it could be something even bigger, like a river. On the coastline of Southern California, these rocky beaches are where a giant of the sea returns after a migration of its own. Elephant seals are named for the fleshy proboscis on the massive mature males. They're colossally large, with a big bull weighing up to 2,200 kilograms, about as much as an SUV. The females are much smaller than their mates, weighing up to 640 kilograms. That's still more than a dairy cow. Twice a year, northern elephant seals migrate out to sea, then return to the beaches where they were born. They travel further than any other seal, more than 3,000 kilometers. The reason for their long journey is food. Males and females have different dietary requirements, so they go to different places. The males stick closer to the coast and head north to feeding grounds off Washington State, British Columbia, and Alaska. They prefer to dine on small sharks and rays in shallower waters. The females go further into the open ocean. They've been spotted as far west as the Hawaiian Islands. They prefer to feast on open water species, especially squid. While at sea, the northern elephant seals forage for food almost constantly. They may not even stop for sleep. They spend most of their time underwater. Elephant seals dive deeper than any other species of seal and can hold their breath for up to an hour and a half at a time. But if there are to be baby elephant seals, male and female must meet somewhere. And this is the place. Point Piedra Blancas, near San Simeon, California. It's September. Elephant seals are beginning to congregate on beaches and rocky outcroppings like this, all along the coastline of California and Mexico. It's called the Fall Haulout. The seals arrive at different times, depending on their age and sex. Last year's pups, juveniles, and subadult seals are returning to the rookeries of their birth. These males are 5 years old, just hitting puberty. Their noses haven't grown to their full fleshy length yet. They won't grow to full size and maturity until they're 8 or 9 years old. The females reach sexual maturity earlier, at 3 or 4 years old. These younger elephant seals are here to rest and relax. While on land, they don't eat much. Learning to fast is part of growing up for an elephant seal. Adults don't eat at all during breeding season. But it's not all fun in the sun. The young males play fight, sparring practice for when they're older. When they grow up, these battles will determine who gets to breed. They rear back their heads and bellow through their undersized noses, and go chest to chest, sizing each other up. They bare their fearsome teeth. But it's all for show, mostly. The juveniles are still more bark than bite. But when the big bulls arrive in a few months, that's when the fighting will get serious. On the other side of the continent, millions of winged creatures are about to embark on another huge migration. It is one of the world's most spectacular mass movements, undertaken by one of its tiniest and most delicate creatures, the monarch butterfly. Instantly recognizable, a regal symbol of beauty and transformation. Its migration is an intergenerational odyssey. Each autumn, monarch butterflies migrate from their summer homes in southern Canada and the northern United States to spend winter in warmer climates. As summer comes in Nova Scotia's Annapolis Valley, on Canada's east coast, a female is looking for the right spot to settle down. She's looking for just the right plant, the milkweed. She's ready to lay her eggs, up to 1,000 of them. As a caterpillar, the monarch doesn't stray far from the plant where it was laid. The caterpillar is voracious, eating its own body weight in milkweed leaves every day. The milkweed gives the caterpillar a toxic taste that stays with it for life and keeps predators away. The caterpillar feasts for about 3 weeks, growing so fast it sheds its skin 4 times. Now, the caterpillar seeks out a horizontal branch to begin its final transformation. It spits out silk from its lower lip, creating a mat on the branch. Then, 2 of its back legs forge together, creating one appendage. Tiny hooks latch onto the silk mat like Velcro. Once its skin begins to peel, it's only a couple of minutes before it sheds its 5th and final layer of caterpillar skin. The pale shell is a hard exoskeleton called a chrysalis. The very cells comprising the caterpillar's body break down into a stewy goo and then reform. A week or so later, the transformation is complete, and the butterfly inside is ready to emerge. Free from its chrysalis, the butterfly hangs for hours until its wings fill with blood, dry, and stiffen. If this butterfly were born in summer, it would live 6 more weeks, during which time it would breed, lay its eggs, then die. But this is an autumn butterfly. So after all this, it still has a migration of thousands of kilometers ahead. In northern Quebec, the Leaf River caribou herd's migration meanders through the village of Kangersook. The herd's route changes every year, but the migration dates back millennia, before there were any towns here at all. It wasn't long ago that people here lived out on the land, following and hunting the herd. Towns were built in the mid-20th century, and the nomadic way of life came to an end for most. But the North is changing once again. Caribou herds are shrinking everywhere. The Leaf River herd is the largest left in North America. Even their numbers are down more than a third in recent years. The nearby George River herd used to number nearly 1 million. But in just 2 decades, the population collapsed by 98%. From 800,000 caribou to just 15,000 today. Nobody is sure why the herds are shrinking. The likely cause is a combination of commercial hunting, industrial development, disease, and deforestation. In response, the Inuit have suspended their hunt in the past few years. It's the first time anyone can remember that the Inuit haven't hunted the George River caribou. Caribou are uniquely specialized to survive here in the north. The short, hollow hairs of their outer coat provide insulation against the cold. Their entire body, even their muzzle, is fully furred. Their long legs and huge stride cover massive expanses of ground. Even as babies, caribou are born to run. At just 1 day old, a caribou fawn can outrun an Olympic sprinter. These fawns are just 2 weeks old and well into their first migration south. Mother and baby form a bond from birth and recognize each other by sight, sound, and smell. The fawns stay by their mother's side as much as possible through the journey. The route isn't easy. The ancient paths lead to a place where the open tundra tumbles down a massive rock face. the yawning valley of the Paine River divides the landscape. In open plains, the herd splits into smaller groups, sticking mostly with members of their own gender, in gatherings of a few dozen to a few hundred. But here, there's just one safe path from the highest elevation down to the riverbank. This is a bottleneck in the migration. One by one, the herd trickles down the hillside like a mountain stream. A river blocks their path. Rivers can be more dangerous than any predator. Hundreds of caribou die attempting these crossings every year. It will take 3 full days for the entire herd to cross this river. Instincts and their stomachs drive them on. It's December. The big bull elephant seals begin arriving on the beaches of California and Mexico. They've been at sea for at least 3 months, bulking up for mating season. It's a lot of work to haul their 2,300 kilogram bodies out of the surf. Blubber accounts for up to 50% of the male's body weight. It keeps them warm in the frigid ocean and fuels them during the hungry months on shore. All that fat was almost the species' undoing. When the California gold rush hit in 1849, there was a sudden spike in demand for industrial lubrication for mining machinery. Back then, that meant whale oil. But whale populations had already been decimated. Hunters turned their sights to the elephant seal and all but wiped out the species in just 15 years. In 1884, a tiny colony of seals was discovered off the coast of Mexico. It's believed all 100,000 northern elephant seals alive today can be traced to that one group. They come by their distinctive nose naturally. But their pink chest calluses, they earned those the hard way, through years of battling with other males. Bull elephant seals are fiercely territorial. This one is patrolling the water, snorting and blowing bubbles to warn off any other males that approach. Their noses also make great echo chambers, booming out signals to other seals. When mating season begins, they constantly harass any females on the beach until a pecking order is determined. The moment a juvenile male starts getting too friendly, a bigger bull comes in. And a fight breaks out. Another male comes up the middle to take his chance with a female. As though that's not enough, a fourth male decides to get involved. The female slips away into the sea as the males fight it out on the beach. It's rare, but these battles can be to the death. Only one male can conquer a beach or a section of beach and mate with a harem of females. Competition must be chased off or beaten into submission. There can only be one king of this empire, the dominant male of the harem on this beach. To the victor go the spoils. A single male can hold a harem of up to 50 females. It's evolution's way of ensuring that only the biggest, strongest males pass on their genes to the next generation. As August turns to September, the monarch butterfly from Nova Scotia begins its long trip south. At first, it is a solitary voyage. Individual butterflies gradually fluttering their ways southwest. But eventually, it joins 150 million others, the great-great-grandchildren of those that flew north the preceding spring. Remarkably, they make the incredible journey in a state something like hibernation in other animals. It's called diapause, a slowing down of the metabolism. It allows a single monarch to live long enough to make the entire trip south. The migration path follows a corridor determined by flowering nectar plants, air currents, and climatic conditions. Research suggests the butterflies use an internal compass to navigate, an operation involving both their eyes and antennae. Their eyes watch the sun's position in the sky, which changes throughout the day. Their antennae contain an internal biological clock to determine the time. The butterfly's tiny brains compare those two pieces of information to determine which direction is southwest. They can be blown off course easily, but gradually reorient themselves. Monarchs fly at speeds of 24 to 40 kilometers per hour. Overnighting together in clusters called roosts. Landforms like mountains and coastlines gradually funnel the scattered individual butterflies together as they get closer to their winter homes. The destination for some butterflies is California's coastline, Our butterfly from Nova Scotia will flutter further south to the Oyamel fir forests of Mexico. The arrival of the monarchs in Mexico's interior highlands coincides with an annual celebration, Dia de Muertos, the Day of the Dead. Traditional folklore says the monarchs represent the souls of the deceased, returning to the earth for the celebration. By December, monarchs cover the trees. It's not the riot of color you might expect, because only the monarch's dull outer wings are exposed. A monarch butterfly weighs less than a gram, but they are so crowded, tree branches can creak and break under the weight of tens of thousands of butterflies. The largest monarch overwintering sites are in Mexico and California, but smaller ones have been discovered in Arizona and Florida. Until 40 years ago, many of these places were a secret to everyone, except the butterflies. Now, a few of the biggest ones in Mexico are protected as World Heritage Sites. Nobody's quite sure how the butterflies chose these places, but it seems to be a combination of the right trees, climate, water supply, forest canopy, and isolation. The migratory butterflies live to be 6 months old, longer than any other generation of monarch. That's because they put off breeding, remaining in a state of perpetual adolescence. The butterflies cluster together to conserve heat. They stay in a state called quiescence, keeping still and conserving energy. Everything has to be just right for the monarchs to survive. If it's too cold, they will burn through their fat supplies and die. Unusually warm weather can stimulate them to breed and begin their northern migration too early, flying straight into the frosty northern winter. About half of all monarchs that arrive in the wintering grounds die before the return trip. Cold snaps and storms can kill millions more. In 2002, a snowstorm in Mexico killed 500 million monarchs, 3 times as many butterflies than the entire migration consists of today. Overall, the number of migrating monarchs is down by 75% in the last 25 years. But if everything goes just right, these monarchs will stay here until March and then begin their part of the journey home. Crossing rivers is a fact of life and death for the caribou herds of northern Quebec. Their winter home in the forest lays hundreds of kilometers past the opposite shore. The adaptations that enable caribou to survive the frozen northern winter also help them in the water. Adult caribou are strong swimmers. Their broad hooves and powerful legs help them paddle through the water. Short, hollow bristles of their outer fur keep them warm and increase their buoyancy. The arteries and veins in a caribou's legs are intertwined, so hot blood leaving the heart warms the cold blood traveling toward it. Their stout bodies and short ears minimize their surface area and exposure to the cold. Still, strong currents can sweep even an adult bull off course. And caribou of all ages must make the swim. At only 2 weeks old, this year's fawns haven't had much practice swimming. If they get separated from their mothers, no other female will adopt them. Sticking together is a matter of survival. A fawn separated from its mother calls out to her. Mother turns back for her baby. She positions herself downstream to keep the current from taking her fawn again. They've made it across. There will be more rivers and other dangers to come. Once they clamber onto shore, they take a moment to rest and feed for the journey ahead. Still hundreds of kilometers to go. The caribou's future is uncertain, both for this year's fawns and the entire Leaf River herd. Their forest destination will offer food and shelter for the coming winter. But there will be prowling predators too, like bears and wolves. At just 2 weeks old, this fawn is still only halfway through his first rite of passage. He could live another 15 years, making 30 more migrations. The trip seems to be getting longer every year. Over the past few decades, the Leaf River herd's spring calving grounds have gradually shifted 300 kilometers to the north. Researchers believe we may be in the twilight of this great migration. They fear the Leaf River herd will be extinct in just 65 years. For now, even after clearing the river, the herd still has a long way to go. The tree line is still hundreds of kilometers away. It's late December on the bluffs and beaches of California. The male elephant seals have been battling on shore for 2 weeks, and now all the female northern elephant seals have arrived. The females bicker and bellow at one another as they jostle for space on the beach, but don't fight like the males do. Females are pregnant when they arrive and give birth shortly after. They lose 30% of their body weight during their time on shore, burning massive amounts of calories nursing and protecting their pups. Newborns weigh about 35 kilograms. The pups don't have any blubber, so their black coat helps them soak up heat from the sun to stay warm. life on the bluffs is dangerous for the babies. They're not alone. Coyotes prowl, looking to pick off weak or unattended pups. Even the adult seals present a significant danger. As males battle for control of the beach, a pup that can't get out of the way fast enough can be crushed. Elephant seal mothers are fiercely protective of their newborns. A young male who comes too close gets a stern warning. She's not as big as the male, but she will fight him if she has to. The male won't take the hint. Junior can't swim yet, so he can't flee. He's trapped between the huge, blubbery bodies. The harem's dominant male comes to the rescue. He sends the upstart male packing and drifts off back to sleep. All elephant seals cover themselves with sand while on shore. It's likely an effort to keep cool in the hot sun. They don't have any blubber in their armpits, so raising one fin like this is another way of cooling off. They scratch constantly. It probably just feels good, but in a few months, it will help with the annual molt in which the elephant seal sheds huge swaths of skin. After giving birth, there's just a short window of time for the mothers to recover before mating season begins. She nurses for just 28 days, then immediately goes into heat, signaling males of all ages to try to mate with her. The dominant male, having fought off the competition, begins the courtship by placing a flipper across her back. He uses his massive body to hold her in place. Through a process called delayed implantation, the pregnancy doesn't take hold for a few months. So birth coincides with a haul out next winter. Not long after mating, the mothers will leave the beach to begin their long migration into the open Pacific in February and March. The pups are left behind for another 6 weeks or so. They've got to fend for themselves and survive off the fat they've built up until they learn to swim and hunt on their own. The males leave soon after the females, heading for the coastal waters off Washington State, British Columbia, and Alaska. They'll all be back again, first for the spring molt, then again in the autumn to begin the cycle once again. By February, the days have grown longer in the butterfly forests of Mexico and California. The changing light draws the monarch out of its hibernation-like state of diapause. It's time for the butterfly to begin its migration north. The butterflies vibrate their wings to bring their bodies up to temperature before beginning flight. They have a long way to go. The journey is up to 4,000 kilometers. But unlike the trip south, the northbound journey won't be completed by any one butterfly, but rather will be an intergenerational relay. The butterfly that came all the way from Nova Scotia will die soon, but first she will lay her eggs on milkweed plants along the way. Then her children will continue the voyage. It takes 4 months and at least 3 generations to make the whole trip north. Today, fewer butterflies make the migration than in decades past. In northern regions, suburban development and herbicide used to destroy milkweed habitats where monarchs begin their lives. In Mexico, many forests are threatened by logging. In California, government and private efforts are underway to protect 450 overwintering sites identified in the state over the past 30 years. Butterfly lovers hope to preserve this flying animal empire for generations to come. By land, by air, and by sea, these creatures embark on life-threatening odysseys to feed, breed, and escape the changing seasons. The world these animals move through is changing all around them. Some of these remarkable migrations are on the verge of disappearing. For now, they persevere, following paths established in a time before human memory. The world's great donkeys stranded on a desert island conquer the arid wilderness. Pigs in paradise sunbathe on a Caribbean beach. And off the east coast of the United States, 2 herds of horses share one island. Animals gone wild must adjust to life on their own. That means unusual adaptations and surprising behaviors. But their very success could be their downfall. Inside the different realms of the wild kingdom, members of a single species assemble in droves. One flock, herd, or troop reigns supreme. These are the world's great animal empires. The small Dutch island of Bonaire lies off the northwest coast of Venezuela. Fewer than 300 square kilometers in total area, this tiny island of dry land and sparse bush is the adopted home of one of the world's most iconic beasts of burden, the donkey. Donkeys have been living wild on Bonaire for over 500 years. Most of them have distinctive stripes that form a cross down their back. This has led to a long association between the donkeys and Christianity. Other than snakes, donkeys are the only animals that speak in the Bible. The cross is actually a trait inherited from the Nubian wild ass, one of 2 subspecies from which all domestic donkeys are descended. The donkey's ancestors made their home in the desert land of northeast Africa. between Egypt and Somalia. Then, over 5,000 years ago, humans domesticated them and brought them across the far reaches of Asia and into Europe. In the 16th century, it was the Spanish conquistadors that brought donkeys to Bonaire. For centuries, donkeys were used in Bonaire's salt trade, alongside enslaved African people. When slavery was abolished on the island in 1862, the salt business industrialized. The donkeys were set free. Today, they are a reminder of the island's history. The feral donkeys quickly adapted to Bonaire. They are naturally suited to desert environments like these. In the 1950s, their population exceeded 1,200. There were 4 donkeys for every square kilometer. Their diet here consists of grass, shrubs, and desert plants. The plants also give the donkeys most of the water they need. The thick hooves protecting donkeys' feet actually benefit from the rough and rocky ground. Their hooves are the same material as human fingernails and never stop growing. Trekking across the hard terrain files them down, protecting from painful overgrowth. To keep cool, the donkeys kick up the desert dust and cover their bodies. This insulates them from the hot sun. Male donkeys are called jacks. The dominant jack will lead a herd of around 20 individuals. The herd includes a harem of up to 8 females, their foals, and often a few subordinate males too. These days, the donkey's desert home is changing. Development on the island and a growing tourism industry have intensified competition for territory between jacks. And as humans move in on the donkey's turf, conflicts with their new neighbors are inevitable. In the Bahamas, the Exumas are an island chain about the length of Long Island, New York. This is Big Major Key, one of the 365 sandy isles that make up the chain. It's home to some surprising castaways. Stranded here, pigs in paradise. These are the same species of swine that can be found on farmers' fields across the globe, but these ones are feral. Domesticated pigs are descended from wild boars. These pigs may live in the Bahamas now, but their ancestors hail from Asia. More than 10,000 years ago, people there started capturing and breeding wild boars for food. Today, domesticated pigs are found on every continent except Antarctica. About 1 billion domestic pigs are alive at any given time, making them among the most numerous large animals in the world. But here, domestic pigs have gone wild and live feral lives. Whether it's a nursery rhyme about pigs going to market, a folktale featuring 3 little pigs hiding from the big bad wolf, or a classic novel where a well-meaning spider named Charlotte tries to save her barnyard buddy. Stories about pigs have been igniting the imagination of children for centuries. Big Major Key is no exception. The origin of these pigs has become a local legend. Some speculate that they swam to shore following a 16th century shipwreck. The truth is, they were actually brought here as livestock from the Bahamian capital, Nassau, in the 1990s. At first, there were only 5 juvenile pigs, and they were fed and fenced in. But when they grew larger, they escaped. The pigs survived on the island for 7 generations. Now, the population has grown to over 30. They may technically be domestic pigs, but these boars and sows haven't lost their innate ability to find food. This behavior is called rooting. Pigs see the world through a heightened sense of smell. Digging with their elongated snouts, they can sniff out edible roots as far as 1 meter underground. Most of their diet comes from roots, but they also eat wild cabbage and berries. They get their water from the island's 3 inland springs. By nature, pigs are social, gregarious creatures. They travel in groups called sounders. This one consists of 3 mature sows, 1 boar, and their offspring. A curious disposition and a broad diet means pigs can find food in just about any range, making them one of the world's most adaptable animals. But there's a downside to their success. With no predators, the number of pigs here will continue to grow until there's not enough food and water for everyone, potentially devastating the island's native ecosystem in the process. Assateague is a barrier island running parallel to the east coast of the United States, from Maryland to Virginia. It's a narrow strip of sand and sediment, almost 60 kilometers long. Another island with another species gone wild. Horses. Assateague's horses have free rein over the island's open meadows. Worldwide, the population of domestic and feral horses is estimated to be 58 million, with over 9 million in the United States alone. There are so many horses in the U.S. that if they were to form their own state, it'd be the 11th most populous in the country. Prior to their domestication, horses roamed the open plains and grasslands of the Eurasian steppes, from Ukraine to Mongolia. First domesticated as a food source, humans eventually realized that tame horses made great workers. Over thousands of years, people brought horses with them across the globe, just like pigs and donkeys. Assateague Island's horses have been here since before the American Revolution. But how they got here is a mystery. Some say that the horses arrived when 2 Spanish galleons crashed into the island during the 1500s. Others believed that early colonizers stashed the horses on the island to avoid paying livestock taxes. Regardless of how they arrived, they've been roaming free for over 3 centuries. Today, 300 horses live on Assateague. Horses instinctively form herds like this one to protect one another and act as lookouts. Feral horse herds are often called bands. The bands are led by a dominant stallion. He's the herd's protector and enforcer of the band's rigid hierarchy, leading a harem of up to 8 mares. In addition to a dominant stallion, every band has a lead mare, like this white horse. She decides where to graze and when to go find water. Horses are prey animals. They grow anxious and flighty when alone. Even here, where there are no predators. The company and hierarchy of the band keep everyone feeling secure. With winter on its way, this horse has begun shedding dead hair and growing in a thicker coat. The horse's pituitary gland recognizes the shift in daylight hours and produces a hormone that triggers the increased hair growth. It's an itchy process for the horse. Horses need to keep their coat well groomed all year. It regulates body temperature and protects against the elements. Horses also produce pheromones that make it possible to identify other herd members from as far as 120 meters away. Of course, there's always an itch that you just can't reach without a little help. When animals clean each other, it's called allo-grooming. It's a sign of an intense bond between horses. The more horses an individual grooms, the higher her social status is within the herd. Scientists have even found that mares, who are the most gregarious groomers, also produce the most offspring. Horses spend between 15 and 17 hours a day grazing. Horses here eat the grasses that grow in the salt marsh or on the beach. This diet is high in salt content, so the horses drink twice as much water as other wild horses. All that water makes them bloated. The grasses are also low in nutrients, so the Assateague horses are shorter and stockier than other breeds. Adult horses eat 21,000 calories each day. Grazing the grass and trampling the field takes an enormous toll on the island and increases erosion. With no natural predators to control the population, these horses could eat themselves out of house and home. In the 1950s, there were 5,500 people living on Bonaire. At the time, that meant for every 5 people on the island, there was 1 donkey. But as the world changes around them, the donkeys are starting to disappear. These days, it's tourism, not salt, that drives Bonaire's economy. 70,000 people visit annually, most of them coming to dive the clear blue water and explore the coral reef that surrounds the island. 16,000 human residents now also call the island home. Development has encroached on the donkey's former range, meaning there's less area to graze and less food to go around. Many also believe the donkeys are throwing the ecosystem out of balance, killing plants, and, like the Assateague horses, eroding the island with their non-stop grazing. The donkey's brave new world is full of unknown threats. And their ancient instincts never prepared them for dangers like these. Unlike horses who instinctively flee nearby threats, these frightened donkeys freeze in the face of danger, stopping to investigate threats. It's an impractical defense when your range extends across roadways. Donkeys stay close to the road for a reason. It's quite resourceful and efficient for grazing. The asphalt repels water, which means that during the rainy season, runoff from the road spills over onto the curbside, cultivating some of the island's most luscious greens. In recent years, up to 60 donkeys annually have been killed in motor vehicle accidents. Even though their numbers are declining, there are still too many donkeys and not enough space. So measures have been put in place to control Bonaire's remaining population of wild donkeys. Jacks have been gelded and then released back into the wild. Meanwhile, mares are being relocated to a protected area, safe from the island's development. Limiting the number of free-roaming donkeys on the island means fewer car accidents and more space for the donkeys to graze. But population control may just be the straw that finally breaks the donkey's back. It might mean the long history of the donkey's wild life on Bonaire could be coming to an end. The wild pig's colonization of the Bahamas' big major key has been so successful that the locals now refer to this spot as Pig Beach. To avoid the hot sun, the island pigs spend the hottest hours of the day in the shade. They save their foraging for the early morning and late afternoon. Pigs don't have sweat glands to help them keep cool. They're susceptible to heat exhaustion, sunburns, and even skin cancer. Wallowing in sand, while not as effective as a mud bath, cools them and also helps the pigs by shielding them from harmful UV rays. And when things get really hot, these pigs have another trick up their snouts. Out in the ocean, a commotion sounds. The pigs storm the sea. Then, an even more curious behavior. They piggy paddle out to the waiting boats. They weigh between 45 and 90 kilograms each, and they're not exactly hydrodynamic. But what these pigs lack in speed, they make up for in determination. In the last 10 years, the legend of Pig Beach has spread far beyond the Bahamas. They've become the biggest single attraction in the Exuma Keys. The sight, sounds, and smells of boats and humans draw the pigs out of the bush and into the water. This isn't the first time stories of swimming pigs have amazed humans. During a World War I naval battle, an attacking British vessel rescued a pig swimming away from a sinking German ship. He was nicknamed Tirpitz and became the official mascot of the HMS Glasgow. In 1946, 200 pigs were brought to the Marshall Islands to test the effect of nuclear fallout from an atomic bomb detonation. After the explosion, they found pig number 311 swimming, safe and sound, in the Pacific Ocean. She lived out her remaining days at Smithsonian's National Zoological Park in Washington, D.C. Swimming is actually instinctual in pigs and can be traced back to their ancient ancestors. Wild boars are exceptional swimmers. In 2013, a wild boar swam 11 kilometers into the English Channel and was found on an island off the coast of France. So if pigs have always been able to swim, why is it such a rare sight? For the most part, domestic pigs just have no reason to swim. So what makes big Major Keys pigs take to the sea? Food, naturally, from the same humans who come to see them swim. Widely considered amongst the smartest animals on the planet, pigs have similar brain power as elephants, dolphins, and chimpanzees. Pigs have excellent long-term memories and exhibit extraordinary problem-solving skills. Both qualities help them exploit what's become a dependable supplementary food source. Locals were the first to discover big Major Keys swimming pigs. But in the age of social media, word spreads quickly. By the mid-2000s, photos of the pigs began popping up online. Before long, the pigs went viral. They've made international headlines, partied with pop stars, been photographed with swimsuit models, and even appeared on reality television shows. Hashtag pigs in paradise? Not so fast. The daily visits and supplemental feeding are beginning to blur the line between wild and domesticated once again. Although the pigs here are being fed, there's no one directly responsible for their well-being. If left unchecked, feral pig populations grow rapidly. One sow can birth over 20 piglets annually. The number of feral pigs in the United States has tripled in the last 25 years, from 2 million to 6 million pigs. An island like this one could quickly become overrun, devastating the local flora and fauna. In the past, population control for swine meant the slaughterhouse. Nobody seems keen to take these little piggies to market. But if left alone, the number of pigs living in this hog heaven could go hog wild. The sand that makes up Assateague Island's beaches comes from the ancient eroded rock of the nearby Appalachian Mountains. Waves pounding against the shore move the sand and keep this barrier island in a state of constant flux. But man-made barriers also shape life on this island, for both people and horses. A state border runs across the island, separating it into two parks. The northern section of the island is Maryland's Assateague Island National Seashore. The southern part is in Virginia, where the horses live on the Assateague National Wildlife Refuge. A fence separates the two parks and divides the island's horses into two distinct herds. This is one of the Maryland horses. Now in his fourth year, he's just beginning to reach sexual maturity. He's on his own. The leader of his band, probably his own father, chased him away when he got old enough to become a threat to the stallion's dominance. For horses, this is an instinctual prevention against inbreeding. Stallions form their own band by drawing in females that have also been cast out, or by attracting a mare that's left her band to give birth. The Assateague Island horses are one of the few wild roaming herds in the United States. They're the subjects of ongoing studies by scientists striving to understand the secrets of wild horse herds. They found that individual horses form close bonds with each other, but these relationships are so prone to fallouts that researchers have compared life in the herd to a soap opera. The horse's reign on Assateague Island faces a similar set of threats as the donkey's empire on Bonaire. The horses are drawn to the rich grasses on the side of the road. Humans are drawn to the majestic horses. It's a dangerous and potentially deadly combination. Since 1982, traffic accidents have killed 29 horses on the island. But the horses themselves may be their own worst enemy. By pulling up the grass, the hungry horses are weakening the island's foundation. This salt marsh is regularly flooded by the tides. Assateague is a barrier island, and, like all barrier islands, it's made from sand. The grass is the glue that keeps the island from washing away. When this area was made a national park in the 1960s, there were only 28 horses living on the Maryland side of the island. a nor'easter had decimated their numbers, and the park sought to protect the small herd. By 1997, the herd's numbers had risen to 165, and the park faced the opposite problem. The horse population was too high. To protect the horses and their home, the United States National Park Service put in place a plan to control the population. Most of the female horses on the Maryland side of the island are now on birth control. Mares who have given birth at least once are shot with a dart gun containing a state-of-the-art equine contraceptive. For the first few years of the program, the population continued to grow. But officials were patient, and in 2014, the Maryland's horse population dropped to a sustainable 100 horses, with no cull or relocation necessary. The female horses that receive the contraceptive even live longer because they're spared the stress of pregnancy and nursing. The future of the Maryland horses has been secured. On the Virginia side of the island, the horse's appetite poses the same threat to the island's foundation. But officials there are trying a different solution to manage the population. Worldwide, 95% of donkeys are still domesticated workers. In places like Latin America, the Middle East, India, and sub-Saharan Africa, they remain a valuable beast of burden. There are an estimated 44 million donkeys around the globe, and their numbers are growing. In industrialized countries, it's a different story. Donkeys are in steep decline. Affordable cars and trucks mean donkeys get left behind. Donkey Sanctuary Bonaire exists to ensure the future of the next generation of the island's donkeys. It was established in 1993 to help care for the island's sick and injured donkeys. Displaced by development and killed by cars, before the sanctuary, the Donkey's Island Empire was on the road to extinction. The donkeys here are fed 3 times a day, a diet of horse pellets, vegetables, and as much hay as they can eat. These days, it's far safer for Bonaire's donkeys to live in the sanctuary than it is to try and survive in the wild. This foal was brought to the sanctuary when she was just 2 weeks old. She was hit by a car and was found with a broken leg. Without Donkey Sanctuary Bonaire, she would have died. Here, on-site veterinarians provide regular checkups. The foal's 2 months old now and still healing. They line her legs with wooden stints to keep the bones straight. Donkey's bones grow until they're 3 years old. This is a critical time. If her bone doesn't set right, she'll face a life of constant pain and will need to be euthanized. But so far, the young foal is doing well, and if she continues to recover, she could live to be 40. Today, close to half of the island's donkeys live in the safety of the sanctuary. That means 600 donkeys don't have to worry about car accidents. The jacks are more aggressive, so they still roam free on the outside. Most are tagged, shipped, and gelded to limit population growth. Meanwhile, the island is still looking for ways to make the wild safer for donkeys. Like these street signs that have been placed across the island warning motorists to look out for crossing donkeys. The next step is a scientific study to determine the number of donkeys the island can support. When the carrying capacity of the island is determined and measures are put in place to keep wild donkeys away from human development, Bonaire will be safe for donkeys once again. Until then, the sanctuary will continue providing the highest quality of life possible. That includes plans to deepen the island's gene pool by artificially inseminating mares. So when the time comes for the donkeys to live free again, Bonaire's donkeys will have the best possible chance of survival. The donkey's long reigning empire may soon be ready to rise again. On a second sandy and deserted island in the Bahamas, the burgeoning empire of Bahamian pigs is growing. These pigs were born on Pig Beach, about 90 kilometers away from Big Major Key. They were relocated here because it's closer to the Exuma's capital and therefore more accessible to tourists. This sounder is comprised of 3 separate litters, each with about 4 to 7 piglets. Like all piglets, they were born highly developed. They could see and hear at birth and walk within minutes. The youngest pigs are just 6 weeks old, but a lifelong pecking order already exists among siblings. It was established the day they were born, as the piglets competed to suckle from teats. The piglets will nurse for up to 5 months, but even after they've weaned, they'll remain close to their mother and siblings. Unlike the pigs on Big Major Key, these pigs can't survive without human help. Because there's no freshwater spring on this island, their drinking water is shipped here daily. The pigs here have been domesticated once again. Their new fence is the Caribbean Sea. It's an odd combination of agriculture and tourism. The spread of this pig empire could spell disaster for both pigs and their adopted lands. Across the Bahamas, other introduced species like cats and mice have decimated island ecosystems. Left free, the highly adaptable pigs could eventually outcompete native species and wipe out local plant life in the process. The unregulated nature of this bizarre phenomenon means there's currently no population management plan. But for the pigs, life in the Bahamas beats life on the farm. Most of those pigs don't make it to their first birthday. As long as they have food, shelter, and water they need, these pigs could live for another 20 years. The Assateague National Wildlife Refuge in Virginia is on the southern side of Assateague Island. Though these horses are left to roam free, each one is branded with the year of their birth, so the herd's numbers can be monitored over time. There are a few differences between the northern and southern Assateague horses. One difference is their name. Down here, people call them Assateague ponies. Genetically, a horse and a pony are the same. The difference is in the height. Horses are taller. Island life has made these short and stocky over time. So by equestrian standards, the Assateague horses are in fact also ponies. The Assateague's ponies' relentless grazing poses the same threat to the island as their northern cousins. When unmanaged, feral horse populations can double every 4 years. But even though 70 new foals are born each year, the effect on the ecosystem here hasn't been as severe. To prevent overpopulation, this herd has been managed for nearly a century. But it's done differently than it is for their northern cousins. Each spring, once foals are weaned, they're rounded up and auctioned off, sent to new homes off the island. Today, there are over 1,000 Assateague ponies living on the mainland. The breed is highly valued for their calm demeanor and a hardy nature. Every year, a few foals are kept back to make sure the wild population stays strong. There are now a manageable 150 horses on this side of the island. That number falls firmly in line with the ecologist's recommendations. The two herds are both considered conservation success stories. With proper population control, the hope is the sun will never set on the empire of the Assateague Island horses. Thousands of years ago, animals like donkeys, pigs, and horses became reliant on their owners. Likewise, humans came to rely on them, bringing them with us as we traveled the globe. But when animals are abandoned in strange new lands, the consequences are unpredictable. Controlling the population of feral species remains an ongoing challenge for conservationists around the globe. These empires gone wild struggle with depleted ecosystems and new relationships with humans. As these herds, bands, and sounders continue to try to find harmony for their animal empires.